I'm Captain Intrigue. It's time to upgrade my Mark III superhero armor.
I am Captain Intrigue.
Just a reminder that my Batman-inspired utility belt and my Star-Lord blaster files are available on my website, and links to products I use in this video are in the description below. This first upgrade isn't an exciting one, but it's an essential one. I often ride my electric unicycle while wearing my armor, so I need to have my 360 camera handy for filming. The problem is that I don't enjoy holding it the entire time, so I needed to come up with some type of holster to hold it securely and protect it in the event of a crash. So I designed and 3D printed a camera holster which mounts to a MOLLE leg platform using simple nylon clamps. The camera can be safely stored here and secured with the Velcro strap while I'm riding. This way the camera is safely protected and I'll never miss a shot. The next upgrade is a Taser glove weapons gauntlet. I've built many stun gauntlets over the years, but this one is very unique because it has a modular weapons port that uses neodymium magnets for attaching swappable weapons. More about that later. A Taser stun glove is a great defensive weapon because seeing and hearing the high voltage arc is usually enough to deter an attacker, and it's an effective, non-lethal way of taking down an assailant. It's very easy to make with an off-the-shelf high voltage module and some batteries. Links are in the description below. I wanted the gauntlet to be sleek and fit the contour of my arm, so I spent a lot of time creating the fabric pattern. The sewing was very time consuming because it was too thick for a sewing machine, so much of it had to be done by hand. I made the gauntlet from fabric by inserting 1/4 inch EVA foam padding in between a layer of Cordura and spandex and then sewed them together. The individual armor pieces are 3D printed from nylon for durability and then stitched over the top for maximum impact resistance. I 3D printed each armor piece with tiny holes around the edges so I could hand stitch them into the fabric underneath, much like the way hockey pads and motocross armor is made. I was then able to stitch the gauntlet onto my protective wrist guard, which I always wear while riding the wheel in case of a fall at high speeds. The wrist guard does restrict my wrist movement, but that's okay because one important lesson I've learned about designing and building gauntlets is that once you begin mounting weapons to them, they become very heavy and will tend to flop around unless they're linked directly to the wrist. So in this gauntlet, I've linked the wrist and forearm together securely so that the twisting of my wrist also causes the gauntlet and its weapons to also twist. This seems like a really simple thing, but it's not obvious until you've already built a few heavy gauntlets where the wrist isn't properly linked to the forearm. The Taser gauntlet is easy to put on and take off using integrated Velcro straps, and it's very comfortable to wear. The firing button is a Microswitch and I can easily reach it, but it's not in my way where I might activate it accidentally. This is also an important feature I've learned the hard way from experience. In this design, I mounted the high voltage module farther back and tried to make it as sleek as possible so it doesn't interfere with the modular weapons port. The power for the gauntlet is provided through this removable cable wired into the suit with the batteries mounted on my back. I'll be showing that in a future video where I'll go into more detail about the Mark III armor. I also added some metal spikes on the fist and some copper electrodes. When I activate the glove using the trigger, the high voltage arc is activated between the copper electrodes, but if I were to press the spike electrodes into someone's skin, the arc will actually travel through the spike electrodes where it touches the skin because the skin has less electrical resistance than the air. I also designed and 3D printed a flashlight onto the knuckles using high power LEDs and a small on-off switch. There's also a selector switch that can switch between operating the stun glove or the weapons port. One problem with building multiple suits of armor is that I need to build a completely new weapon system for each suit. That was becoming expensive and redundant, so I decided to build this modular weapons port so that the weapons can be swappable between any of my suits. The weapons port uses 3 neodymium magnets to hold the module in place securely, allowing me to swap out weapons quickly and easily based on mission requirements. 2 of the magnets are connected to power, and the third magnet is used to trigger the firing mechanism of the individual weapon activated from a firing button in the gauntlet. The magnets are nickel coated and electrically conductive, so they work great for this purpose. Of course, there are some pros and cons to this system, like all things in life. The pros are the weapons can be swapped for a specific purpose or mission. New modular weapons can be designed and added in the future. Weapons can be completely removed for reduced weight and sleekness. Sensors and gadgets can also be added to the weapons port. Weapons and gadgets can be used on all my suits of armor. And the cons are the weapons ports stick out a bit from the Gauntlet. They aren't as low profile as using integrated weapons would be. Increased complexity and more possibility of something malfunctioning. Here are some of the weapons I'm currently working on. Dragon's Breath, Missile Launcher. These are almost ready, so in an upcoming video I'll be testing and demonstrating all these upgrades, so stay tuned for that. If I had to build this gauntlet over again, I'd definitely buy an industrial sewing machine, since most sewing machines are not able to reliably sew through Cordura and foam, and stitching this by hand took forever. But overall, I'm very happy with how this turned out, and it made me realize that sewing is a very essential skill required for armor building. In the coming weeks, I'll be making a video about my bulletproof shield, so be sure to click the bell icon so you don't miss out. Thanks for watching.